Pennsylvania is one of 31 states that has an elk population, and Benezet in Elk County sees more than 500,000 visitors a year to come see these majestic animals. In this video, I'm going to give you information that you won't find anywhere else, and I know this because as a wildlife photographer and filmmaker researching where to find these animals in the summer months, I found very little information to actually help me find these elk. So I spent 4 days from sunrise to sundown scouting each of these locations, hiking new locations, and driving around to see if I could get a grasp on the elk's daily routine and the locations that they're spending their time in. In this video, I'm going to tell you where I didn't find any elk, what it's like viewing elk from the overlooks, other wildlife I encountered, the best place to view sunrise, sunset, and take Milky Way photos, common rules when photographing, filming, and viewing elk, the best times to venture out and see them, where I found them, and lastly, the people you can talk to if you're struggling to find elk. Now let's start with the best time to go out and find elk. I spent my days getting up around 5 o'clock so that I could be on the road by 5:30 and be at my first location by around 6 a.m. Now you can be at your first location by 5:30. It is starting to get light out. You're hitting blue hour right about that time. So you can get out on the road and start driving around these locations to see if you can find them. And then I would pretty much stay out until about 8:30 to 9 a.m. The first day that I was there, I was out for maybe till 10 a.m., but didn't see anything from really 9:15 to 10 a.m. So I stopped doing that. And then at nighttime, they're coming out usually around anywhere from 7:30 to 9:30. Pretty much a 12-hour difference between the times that you're actually going to be seeing these elk. Of course, you have a little bit more time in the morning because it's much cooler, and it really doesn't start cooling off until around 7:30, 8 o'clock. And because it's so hot and humid, the animals are bedding down for the majority of the day or they're near water. Now you can actually still see them between 9:30 and 10, but it's gonna be really hard for you to photograph them. So if you just wanna go photograph them or go look for them, photograph them, and then just spend some time with them after the sun goes down, you can do that too, of course. And it's getting hot in here, so I'm actually gonna roll my sleeves up. Okay, now where did I look for elk and not see anything? Cinnamahoning State Park, Bucktail Overlook, Miller Run Wildlife Viewing Area, Hicks Run Wildlife Viewing Area, Elk County Visitor Center, Beaver Run Pond Wildlife Viewing Area, Hoover Farm Wildlife Viewing Area. Now just because I didn't see any elk here doesn't mean that you won't. I did spend about an hour or more at each of these locations and I didn't see anything. I did see some wildlife at a couple of them, which I'll get into later on in this video, but check these places out, especially if you're camping or lodging nearby. Go there first thing in the morning. You might have a different experience than I did, and if you do, comment below where you saw your elk when you were visiting. Now what's it like viewing the elk from the overlooks? Generally, they're pretty crowded. Not so much in the summer months, but if you do go there on a holiday weekend or getting closer to the rut, they are going to pick up a lot more. And during the fall months, it has been known that there's a long waiting line to get in and out of some of the more popular ones like Winslow Hill, the Elk County Visitor Center, Dents Run, Woodring Farm. Those are generally some pretty popular areas. Every one that I went to was a gravel parking lot and it's pretty accessible for the majority of cars. I drive a little hatchback and was able to go to each of these locations without any problem. And a lot of them even do have wheelchair accessible parking and handicap parking for those who require that. A good portion of the overlooks do require a little bit of hiking. Hicks Run Wildlife Viewing Area requires, probably about 100 yards, and that was the longest one. It's probably even shorter than that, but it's nothing too crazy. Everything is pretty accessible and easy to get to, so you don't have to worry about that. Woodring Farms, on the other hand, is an actual loop that you would get out, walk up a short hill, and then take a loop around a field, which is absolutely beautiful and I highly recommend it. If you're looking to get away from the crowds and get away from the more popular overlooks, if you see a little parking area like this with these signs in them, these are places that you can actually park your car as long as it's not blocking the gate and not blocking the road, and you can go and actually hike these locations for the chance to see elk a little bit more in the wild than so much at the overlooks. Now, where did I see other wildlife? Now, I was camping near Hicks Run Wildlife Viewing Area, so I was there a lot. I went there pretty much every morning and every night because it was right outside my campground. And I didn't see anything until Saturday night, which was about 3 days in, and that is where I ran into probably about a dozen white-tailed deer with 5 bucks and about 6 or 7 doe. So there is plenty of wildlife there to be seen. There's plenty of birds, rabbits, and also keep an eye out for snakes. I didn't see any snakes the whole time I was there for the 4 days, but they are present. So just be mindful if you leave the trail at all that there are rattlesnakes out there. The second location would be Woodring Farms. Now I went and hiked this area 3 different times, mostly for the pine trees that are there. They just make a beautiful landscape photo, and that's something that I really set out there to go get because I saw it online and I was like, I need to go and capture that myself. So I went out there mainly for that. And then you have beautiful wildflowers that are all over the place if you're going during the summer months. And then at the lookout, while I was sitting there, I saw an indigo bunting, which is a beautiful, really cool bird. And then right when I was getting ready to actually leave the overlook, which is in the center of the backside of the loop, I thought I saw a really dark shadow, which was kind of strange for the lighting conditions because it was dusk. And turns out that it was a black bear. So you do have black bear that you can potentially see there. It's a really beautiful area. That's probably the most beautiful overlook that you can go to, and you can see a lot of the countryside. So I highly recommend hiking the Woodring Farms loop to see any type of wildlife or just wildflowers. Which leads me into what else is there to see. You have the deer, porcupine, raccoons, the black bear, a lot of different birds if you're looking for bird species, or if you're a bird photographer. There's so much, there's such a diversity of wildlife. And then of course, me going at the end of June to the beginning of July, you have all the different fawn from the white-tailed deer. So you'll see a lot of doe and a lot of fawn running around with their moms, and they make for absolutely beautiful portraits if you're a wildlife photographer or just want to see, cute little animals running around. So what is the best place to see the sunrise, sunset, and get pictures of the Milky Way? Well, this is going to be the Bucktail Overlook, and from the visitor center, it is about 45 to 50 minutes east, and it's on a very kind of hidden road. It's a dirt road. There's really no signs, so you do have to put it in your GPS to find it. But if you put in Bucktail Overlook, it'll pop up, and you drive up this windy mountain road, all dirt, very bumpy. So, if you're scared of, heights, there's no guardrail. So just be known about that. Very bumpy road, but it leads you to what they call the top of the world. And it's this big open field with just a few trees and a 360-degree view of all the mountains around you. It is absolutely stunning, and I recommend going at least for one sunrise and one sundown. Now to the fun stuff. Where did I see the elk? Mainly I saw them in people's yards. Every single elk I shot, besides two different overlooks, were in people's yards. And that is mainly because of COVID, just their migratory patterns and a lot of people going and seeing them. They've kind of changed up their eating habits from eating at these food plots to going in people's yards and eating their trees, vegetables, fruit. So drive the Winslow Hill Road and 555 Loop, and you do that during the hours that I told you at the beginning of this video, and I guarantee you, you will see elk. Now, if you want a campground that you will probably see elk in, there are Riverview campsites. I saw a bull elk there. I know another couple who saw a bull elk there, and he was just rolling through the park, not giving a mind to any of the campers, and it's right along a river. It's a beautiful campsite. I highly recommend it. It's not where I stayed, but it is a beautiful location, and you have a very good chance at seeing elk because they cross the river from there into some of the other food plots and lookouts that I mentioned already. Besides the Hoover Farm wildlife viewing area, Dents Run is probably the second furthest away that elk are gonna be. I did see 3 or 4 bull elk there as they were grazing. You do have a good chance of seeing them, but they're gonna be at a distance. They're gonna be a few hundred yards away, which for me, shooting with a 600mm camera, or a 600mm lens, they were just a little bit too far away for me to actually get any good shots. But for you, if you want to photograph them there and you don't mind the distance, or if you have teleconverters, or if you just want to see them, that's a good place to go as well. And then one of the most popular places, Winslow Hill. Now Winslow Hill, I only saw them the very first night that I got there, and I was just driving the loop and they were right in the field, right off the overlook, and there was a pretty decently sized herd, maybe 10 to 15 elk, with one bull that was in the middle of them all, and they were all grazing. So this would actually be a pretty decent place to check out. It is the most popular, so it is going to be filled up or get filled up the fastest. It's also right next to the visitor center, so you're gonna have a lot of traffic there. But again, during the summer months, you're probably gonna have plenty of parking. It's just during the fall months, this is when it's gonna be a little bit more populated. And I plan on making a video come the rut, so people know what to expect during the rut as well. Now, I wanna quickly talk about the fact that a lot of the elk are in people's yards, which means a lot of people are pulling over on the side of the road, holding up traffic, or stopping in the middle of the road to see these beautiful animals. Don't hold up traffic, please. Everyone wants to see a photo of them, yes. But be respectful, because there are homeowners and people who visit or own property that are out there to enjoy either the summer months and the fall months, with their families. And there's been a lot of issues where people drive into people's yards, drive in their driveways, walk on their properties. Now, it's simply treat others the way that you would want to be treated. I know that these things are beautiful and you want to get a good picture of it, but don't insult or disrespect the people who live there by blocking their driveways, driving on their properties, walking onto their property without their permission. Be respectful to the people who live there and everyone else who wants to see them. And also maintain a safe distance. If you're a professional, we know to shoot between 50 to 100 yards. If you're just there sightseeing, stay 100 yards away, zoom in on your camera phone, or if you're a photographer, go there with a long lens, minimum 200 millimeter lens if you want to get a decent shot, and still be respectful to the other people around you as well as the people who live there. And if you can't find any elk, then when you're out in town, cruising around, going to these overlooks and you see other people, just talk to them, ask them where they've seen them, ask them where they've gone, talk to the conservationists at the visitor center. I believe the conservation is, hold on, let me look at my notes, the Keystone Elk County Alliance. Those are conservationists who are in charge of the elk. So talk to them. I know that they're at the visitor center and they'll give you plenty of information on where you can go to see them and where they actually might be moving throughout. But they're gonna tell you a lot of the same things I said here and give you the locations that I gave here, because that's the locations that they gave me. And that loop that I was telling you about is the best place that I was able to actually find elk besides the Riverview campsite just along 555. And if you want to go from being just a person with a camera taking photo of these things to actually developing your wildlife photography skills, go ahead and watch this video next.